Hello. Hi. Ooh, excuse me. Garden in the Gate by Mother Dad. So Mercury's officially retrograde, y'all. And as soon as she slid retrograde yesterday, she hit me. I was hit. Admittedly, HIT hit. Um, and yesterday, I talked about it, right? For me, it was all about reframing my own personal narrative, the story that I tell myself about myself. And it started with like how I view homework. And I don't know, I just really wanted to be outside yesterday. My mom was like, "You keep going outside, you ain't back there doing nothing." And I said, "I just want to be outside. I just want to be on the porch." And she was like, you could take your homework outside." And then I took my homework outside, and I was like, maybe Gail will whisper the answers to me as I'm out here. And she kind of sort of did, low key, not really. um, but I ended up finding some of the stuff that I really needed to move forward, and it wasn't the part of the problem that I was focused on, but with the information that I found, it's like everything except the one part of the problem that I was focused on. Oh, I gotta look at pumps. That's what it is. 1 second. I'll remember because I gotta do that part of the problem. Excuse me. And so, I guess Mercury is actually in my seventh house. And I just thought about that just now. Don't know why I didn't think about that earlier. Um, so, Mercury is going to be retrograding in my house of partnership. And it's actually going to be going back into my sixth house, which in my life is very accurate because in the space of daily routines, is this work I need to do? um, so yeah, but yesterday, in the beginning of the day, it was about reframing. Hey, Clarinda, good. I would say good morning. No, I just woke up. I was actually sleeping pretty good, and I woke up, so I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna go back to sleep. Excuse me. How are you doing? Work, work, work. LOL. But yesterday, or as I went to bed, it did like really. It put up. Well, there's a broken heart, contract, and storm warning. Um, what was I going to say? You're good. Glad to hear it. Yeah, just jumped into bed. A Who was this? Oh, community. Number 7, community. Number 6, contract. As I went to bed, I'm just thinking about some seventh house stuff, right? Because that's where Mercury is retrograding for me in Scorpio. It's in my seventh house, and like I said, gonna slide into my sixth house. Um, but I did kind of sort of go to bed thinking about partnership, and it was hitting me kind of hard, but not hitting me hard in a like this is supposed to take you out type of way. Even though, oh man, holding a heart with the sun, okay. Even though it did kind of hit me that way. Um, I think when it comes to reframing and rewriting, recasting even sometimes these personal narratives, for me it was just a sense of like this is a part of the story that's about to change. This is something that you're unsatisfied with, or that you haven't really been satisfied with up until this point, and it's about to change. Partially because I'm going to change it. And honestly, some of it kind of sort of was in that partnership area. And not even just like romantic, just like the people in my life in general, right? Like, and the types of people in my life, maybe. I don't know. Right? Ooh, financial constraints. She can go to. And actually, we're actually looking at ways that she can just like exit the conversation because she's no longer a part of it. So what I'm gonna be doing is I need to watch the Libra versus Scorpio video I did for Mercury retrograde a while ago because I'm trying to remember if something like that came out, but I can't remember. But yeah, it's about reframing and reshifting the narrative of my own personal life, or at least that's how I'm taking it. And so anything that comes up or that has been coming up is going to be highlighting and illuminating what I want to change, right? Like from in my daily life, in my day to day, and in the space of who I choose to share my experience with. That could be familial, platonic, romantic, even business, because it's all relationships. So it was interesting. It did really like literally within the hour that it went retrograde. Just like literally within the hour it freaking entered its pre-shadow. I'm already over here acting like whatever. I'm like, girl, please exercise caution. So I'm gonna be looking. We're in the third decan of Libra, so I'm gonna be looking for the Four of Swords, and then we're just gonna see what's around it. Then I'm gonna go back to sleep. What was I having a dream about? I don't remember. I don't remember. But yeah, she hit me quick, and she hit me good. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then I turned on my favorite movie. I had my one snack that would have like really took me there and just like had me in tears, just like feeling whatever type of way. But I was like, you know what? I found these pepper jack cheeses. I was like, I'm gonna eat the here we go, thank you, because I really wasn't trying to go too deep. I was like, I found these pepper jack cheeses. I'm gonna eat this instead. So we're opening with the Knight of Swords, ending with the Lovers. Here, the majors we have. Well, first of all, there's quite a few. Bottom of the deck is the Tower, which accurate. Wait, what are you talking about, Clorinda? No, I mean it was. It's not necessarily anything like that. It's just that like I feel like I've met a lot of not helpful people who have been put in positions of like supposed to be helpful people. And so yesterday, and it's all started with some harmless conversation, but it's like, man, come on, like this has been my entire life. Like you don't know that it's like this for me. Um, so I'm still completing my degree, and it's been nearly a decade since I started. And so my dad was just like, man, like, have you ever thought about changing your major? Like, you could have been a doctor by now with all this stuff. And I'm like the problem hasn't been the difficulty of my coursework. The problem has been everything else that's happened in my life, and that I haven't had reliable people to help me navigate through any of these changes and challenges. Like I've been doing it all by myself. And before I was in a space to accept what was coming, I was running from everything, and that made everything even worse. And in my mind, it's just like my challenges are so prevalent in my own world to me that it's hard for me to comprehend the fact that to other people they're like non-existent. And in my mind, I'm like, how can you not see this? Because it affects literally every aspect of my life. And it's the source of most of the difficulty and challenge. And every now and then, my mom will be like, he doesn't like. I mean, I guess from a certain point, like, I understand because while it is what it is from my perspective from the outside, I navigate okay. I navigate fine. So a lot of people wouldn't know that I'm necessarily going through any challenge because I guess I don't necessarily wear it um, super openly. And so it's just like, I want like actually hopeful people, actually supportive people, people interested in me. And it's like, I didn't even realize until yesterday that, like, there are also people in my life who, like, know almost nothing about me that I know quite a bit about. And it's not to say anything necessarily either way. It's just like, I deserve people in my life who are actually interested in me as a person and who want to know those things about me and who ask me these things. And I deserve people who are supportive and what people who see me, honestly. And then, you know, the day before, it was all about what I deserve from me, right? Like, I deserve to be invested in my own future to the point where I can do something like homework if it means that I get my degree, if it means that I get where I'm going. And so it is like this what I need to start doing for me and what I'd like to start attracting into my experience from others as well. And I'm taking the approach of reframing my narrative. I'm taking the approach of changing how I write my story moving forward and just like changing the way I tell it to myself, right? That's what I'm taking it as an opportunity for. So that was it. That was it. That was it. Yeah. So at first it was just like, I don't know. And like, usually it doesn't affect me too much. Usually I just brush it off. But yeah, that was it. I was feeling some type of way. I put on my favorite movie, Meet the Robinsons. I was like, you know what? Because the message in Meet the Robinsons is keep moving forward. And I was like, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. And like, I know that this isn't where my story ends. But at the same time, it's like if I want to see a shift in my story, if I want to move into the next act or the next chapter, there are some things that I got to start doing differently. And now is as good of a time as any to start doing that, which means like actually doing all of this stuff that I know I need to do for myself and not like just talking about it anymore. So, which includes this homework, which includes, being a little bit more involved in where I'm going after December. Because right now I have some things in place that are um, that will pay out, but it's just being a little bit more involved, I guess. But yeah, I'm gonna have to look and see what I pulled because I don't remember. Whew. Okay. So we got a whole bunch of court cards. We got the Knight of Swords, the Page of Cups, Queen of Swords, Knight of Cups, King of Cups, Knight of Pentacles. We got everyone except the Queen of Cups is here. We got the Magician. We got the Sun. We got Death, the Lovers. So I feel like some overall themes here. We go from the Page to the Knight to the King of Cups. So there's definitely some emotional / spiritual maturity happening and going down. We have the Queen of Swords right after, or the Queen of Swords in between the Knight of Cups and the King of Cups, which is us standing in our truth. We have this need to reframe and rework how we view some things, going from the Ten of Wands to the Sun to the World card. We got the Eight of Wands and the Seven of Pentacles, with the Eight of Pentacles and the Death card under it. Which, to me, it kind of gives this feeling of, it's almost like the hardest part is over. And things that we haven't seen growing, but we continue to care for anyway, might be shooting up here pretty soon. But then, with it leading into the Eight of Swords, it's this in particular. Eight of Wands, Eight of Pentacles. I feel like that's the energy of like the thing that we've been putting a lot of time into. It's about to sort of like shoot up, right? We haven't been seeing the result of it, of all of the stuff that we pour into this, but that's about to change. And what's really going to take us out of this spot of not seeing it, it's if we sort of open up a little bit more, and if we get clear on the direction that we're taking in our own lives and the reason why we make the decisions that we're making, right? And that's something that's been coming up a lot for me personally. Let's see. Try not to get rid of anything I need. I don't want to do this. I want 3 cards. Face down. And with the Tower card at the bottom, is that the King of Wands? Yeah, there's the King of Wands. Now in this deck, I usually see the King of Wands like all the time. I don't see the King of Wands like that in any other deck, but in this one, I do. Yeah. But it honestly sounds like a lot of, or at least in my own personal opinion, a lot of the work that we've already done, right? Because, I mean, a lot of the work that I'm already done and that I'm doing is related to what I was experiencing yesterday. And honestly, and it really hit me out of nowhere. Like, I was having such a good day yesterday. Like, all day. And then by the end of the day, she's just like hitting me. I'm like, Mercury, girl, you just went retrograde. What is happening? But the context is important. So I want 3 face down cards. I'll take this as number 1. Please. This will be number 2. But it reminds me, I guess, of what I was saying in terms of like the work that we've already done will it makes it easier to put things in context, basically, long story short, so that we're not just going through something for no reason, and also we can kind of see what and why it is what it is. The sun at the bottom with the tower. Work. Work. So, oh yeah, I was like, I keep thinking about the Nine of Swords for some reason. So, what's grounding this, or at the root of this, is the Page of Cups, and what's crowning it is this Ace of Swords. And it's like ultimately, it's just to show us how much. It's almost like how much we don't know, but it's this feeling of like things could change so drastically, so quickly, that we don't. This Page of Cups is feeling like spiritual understanding slash the knowledge and knowing of what lies in wait, and in the water that like brings everything to our experience, right? And with this Ace of Swords, like these two together, it's like this energy of like we don't know how drastically things can shift. We don't know what's queued up for us, and before we're so determined to be so final or limiting in some ways, to continue to just like put that in spirit, in the hands of spirit, right? Nine of Wands is the wind of change at our back, moving us forward, and the Eight of Pentacles is the oncoming challenge. I feel like this is saying that we're coming into a time of completion, or we're in a time of completion, and we can't be more done and over it than we are willing to do what we need to do to get to the next phase in the way that we want, honestly. Because it's like, it feels like in some way, on a soul level, we're kind of sort of craving something before we're in the physical position to receive it, right? Like physically, it's still being worked out. It's still being whatever. Like we still need to be diligent. And with the Nine of Wands, which came out yesterday, and like it's been coming out recently in the Wild Unknown tarot. But it's like we're reaching this completion. We're reaching this. It's almost an energy of a rebirth, but it's not a rebirth. We're just discovering new pieces to ourselves, integrating new pieces, calling in this new. Because I've been talking about holding the light in the space of darkness until the sun rises, and I feel like that's what she's done. That's what she has done. She's like defended her post all throughout this dark night, and now the sun is starting to rise. I remember, like, I want to make this a spread based on the Aksunare energy, because Aksunore, Aksunare has been popping into my mind yesterday and today. Um, yesterday and the day before. And I think it was the day before yesterday I had an idea to make a spread, and then yesterday I was like, oh, but like that energy would kind of sort of loosely be around the sun. And I was like, man, that's jumping a whole bunch. Maybe I'll write it tomorrow, build it out. But Aksunare is that dawn. So we're in the space of, we had a dark night centered around a theme. And it's different for all of us. And I know what my own personal dark night is that's coming into this Aksunare dawn, blinding dawn type of energy. And for me, it is related basically to me living my own life out there in the world, right? I had a lot of anxiety and worry about it, a lot of different reasons and excuses that were valid, that are extremely valid, to be like afraid or whatever. And so that dictated the way I made a lot of my decisions, and it kept me from doing and pursuing a lot of things that were for me. Um, but now it's time for me to really release that fear and do it anyway. And it's not as simple as, just releasing it and doing it anyway, but it is at the same time. But now, like, so that was the space of my, like, some of the darkest nights that I went through was running from that, or being like making these choices and decisions that were affected by that brought a lot of darkness into my life. And so now that the sun is coming up in that area, it's like partially, and to me it doesn't feel like a dark night, but it rumbles and shakes the same. Like this tower over here, right? The tower in the sun. Yeah, it's exactly this energy. It's a tower moment caused by the presence of the sun in a moment, or in a space where there was only darkness before. And so now it's like, flipping on the light switch after your eyes have adjusted to the dark, and you're like, ow, oh my gosh. Blinded by the dark. Instead of being blinded by the dark, we're going to be blinded by the light a little bit. And again, it can kind of sort of shake us the same, but it should play out differently. And so that's this space over here of holding our ground, standing our ground until the dawn breaks. But it's almost like, since her back is turned towards the sun, she doesn't know that it's as close to rising as it is. And that goes back to this energy, right? We don't know how long the night lasts. A night lasts for different durations of time throughout the year, right? We're coming upon the winter solstice now, which is the day of longest night. And so, it's going to be dark for a lot longer than it's light until we come back to the vernal equinox, when we go into, next Aries season, where the light and the dark balance out again. And with the Eight of Pentacles being the oncoming challenge, I feel like this is the part of completion and completing basically the cycle that we're in. Now, we may not necessarily have to, we may not necessarily have to, okay. Oh, that's a skull. She a skull, girl. Like a Fabergé egg just popped into my mind. I'm like, a Fabergé egg? What's that about? We have this candle, we got this skull, we have this open book. The candle, the skull, the open book, that's telling me about illumination, it's telling me about transformation, and it's telling me about going into the next chapter. And here's this pentacle that we're working on right now. Now, I don't think we necessarily have to, like, make two more. We may only have to finish the one that we're working on now, because, again, there's this energy that sits below us and above us that is in control. And, like, I've noticed as I'm thinking about it, literally just like right now, that I do kind of sort of, I guess when I'm triggered, I kind of sort of freak out and go into control mode because my moon is in Taurus. So I have a fixed moon, okay, and a mutable sign. So usually I'm going with the flow, but if I get in my feelings sometimes, I like to control stuff. Sometimes it's my feelings. But that it kind of was triggered as I was going to sleep. It's like I need to do this and I need to do that and I need to do this other thing because I'm ready to go. Because I'm ready to go. Like I'm ready for my story to be different right now. Like let's go. Um and you know, I'm over here like trying to bargain with the divine. I'm like, hey, like I need this and I need that and I'm gonna need for y'all to show me where I'm going right now, because your boy's got to make a move. He's got to move right now. He's got to move right now. and um, and it's not that it's not time, but one thing that I try to be cognizant of is always keeping my motivations in check for why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I'm not going to take an opportunity that's not meant for me. And I know that in certain, it seems like when I'm in a certain framework or a certain state of mind, then I start manifesting opportunities. But a lot of the opportunities that come my way feel like non options, feel like distractions, feel like different ways that I can get off of the path that I am paving for myself as I go. But also at the same time, it's like when I don't know where I'm going, then it's like I don't know where I'm going, but I know how it's gonna feel. Because I know how I want to feel and I know what I'm aligning myself to feel. Right? So if I manifest an opportunity and it don't feel like that, if it feel like a distraction, or if it feels like something that I manifested from a space of impatience and not sticking through. And I guess that's another thing for me as well that I need to learn is it's to have a better follow through and to stick to things a little bit more and to have some lasting power and some stamina, specifically in areas that I'm not too enthusiastic about. Because when it comes to stuff that I care about, I can go all night long because I care about it. But when it comes to the things that I need to do that I don't like, but that are necessitated by, I don't know, my survival, it's like, hey, then I should care about that as well. But anyway, it just feels like we're reaching this space where we're ready to move on into the next thing before we've fully wrapped this one up. And since we're talking about Mercury and the reason why it retrogrades like 3 times a year at least, it's like this haste makes waste type of energy where we're sort of, when we're going through the motions of day to day life, it's easy for us to kind of sort of miss these small things, and small things really add up. And so it retrogrades so frequently almost to like give us an opportunity to not get too far ahead of ourselves with a lot of stuff that's unaddressed if we choose to address those things. And it's never a bad time to get a little bit clearer on what it is that we want moving forward and what it is that we're willing to do to get there. So, yeah. I mean, I've been thinking about it a lot, Clarinda. So, as soon as I started my favorite movie, I'm like, okay, I'm feeling better. I really did, though. Just like, I was like, you know what? Ew, I should have muted my mic. I'm sorry. I got both of my fans on and the window open. Because I'm enjoying sleeping with the blanket, a heavier blanket. I am. I'm not gonna lie. So I like it cold. I'm actually wearing like full sweatpants and a sweater right now. I had to suit up to do this because I'm not under the covers. um, but I was like, you know what? Instead of trying to push these feelings off, and instead of trying to do whatever, I'm just gonna feel these. I'm gonna, not. I'm gonna do my best to not let them consume me. But I'm gonna put on something. I'm gonna put on my favorite movie. I'm gonna grab one of my favorite snacks, and I'm gonna sit with these feelings. And as I was sitting with them and watching this movie in particular, they lifted. And again, for me, it was an opportunity to get a different perspective on why I was feeling the things I was feeling. Right, based on what I'm feeling and based on what I'm wanting moving forward. Because I don't know, yesterday was just very, like I said, Mercury is retrograding in my seventh house. And so the later end of yesterday, the like evening end of yesterday, was very sort of illuminating in that area of what I know I'm deserving of and what my experience has been. You know what I mean? And what it doesn't make sense for me to invest my time and energy into if it's not going to, I wanted to say validate me in the ways that I want to be validated, but it isn't even about validation. It's just like if it's not going to pay out in a way that like I'm being enriched by this experience, then why am I giving anything to it? Or why am I giving so much to it? Or why am I invested so much? Why am I invested so much if the payout is not going to be um, comparable to what I'm paying into it? Like why? I'm not doing that no more. Right? Like that's been the lesson this year. We're not doing that anymore. And another thing that has been coming out a lot, it's just our capacity, right? I feel like sometimes it's easy for us to kind of sort of feel some type of way about how things are going for ourselves and in our own lives. And when we feel some type of way about that, then it's like it's easier to kind of sort of pick at those around us. But also at the same time, in order for it to get to us, it kind of sort of has to put us in, or in order for it to get to us, we kind of sort of have to be available to be gotten to. If that makes any sense. If that make any sense. So yeah, I kind of want to clarify these up. Ooh, cutting to the star. The star in the tower, 16 and 17. I like that. Okay. Y'all ain't want to shuffle. That's cool. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Oh, come on. Okay, so I guess we're not doing that. The cards don't want to shuffle, so we're not doing that. So the winds of change at our back is like we can feel the sun, or the sun is about to rise in a certain situation, and we're ready to move into this new chapter. The challenge at our back is being intent and present enough in the current moment to really get everything that we need out of it before we rush an ending, right? If we're writing the story, we don't want to rush an ending to this chapter because if there are some details that we leave out, it's going to create these plot holes in our experience. At our feet, it's just like, I feel like it's spirit telling us, like, in your human experience, you are so limited in what you know, right? How everything can shift and change in the matter of literally moments. And you could be a moment from your big moment, from your big break, from the experience that turns your whole life around. And with this Ace of Swords, it's like it's just unfathomable. Unfathomable. Normally, what triggers you from the other person is what we need to work on. Yeah, but it honestly, like, to me, it didn't really, like, it was triggering, but not in a way that I've been triggered before, right? Usually, if I'm already feeling down on myself, then I'll get triggered. But I wasn't. And I haven't been. And so that's why I'm like, why am I feeling like this? And then when I dug into it, or when I felt into it from my own personal perspective, it was just like, oh, well, this is an aspect of your story that's about to change. But in order for this aspect of your story to change, you're going to have to change the way you write the story. And I was like, oh, okay. So it wasn't even, or at least I mean, it's my life, so I get to determine and decide, right? So it wasn't even about what that experience is usually about. It was just about completely shifting the way engagement works between me and other people. And it's like, this is a part of your story that you don't really like, that you have the opportunity to change and rewrite moving forward. I was like, okay, work. So yeah, I'll just choose to navigate differently moving forward rather than getting lost in the feelings and getting lost in things that I've already worked through. Cause that's why I was so confused. Cause I'm like, this doesn't feel like something I need to work through, or not in this way. Like back in the past, like this would trigger me because I'm already feeling down about myself, and I'm already like, well, why am I not doing this? And I could have done that in the amount of time that I've been doing all of this. But again, it just brought up the broader context of like just not really being seen by folks. But at the same time, I don't really put myself out there to be seen either. So it's like, it's a catch 22. You can't have it both ways. And I was like, okay, work. So I'll just change it moving forward into something that gets me where I actually want to be. Right? Stop writing the story against me. Stop painting myself into corners. Right? So yeah, yeah. But again, like I said, or like I've been saying, I feel like a lot of these opportunities, it's probably going to be tower moments and opportunities, potential towers, but they're not real towers, or they could be a real tower if you turn it into a real tower. Depending on how much we've grown and how much we've healed and how we're progressing in our own lives, it's going to completely shift some of these things. Or maybe that's just how I'm experiencing it. But with the Ace of Swords sort of crowning all of this, it just, to me, it sits in the space of there are things that we will never know. Right? We're never going to know everything, no matter how big brained we are. Because there's too much. And so I feel like it's like the purpose is not to know and realize that there's more going on than you will ever know, because it's beyond our human capacity to understand. And it's not to know any of this. It's just like, be open to the fact that everything can shift and change and work out in wonderful, miraculous ways that you don't even know. But before you're so quick to like be done with something and to be fed up with something, make sure you're actually doing what it is that you want to do to get where you want to be, right? It's like, you can be frustrated and upset that you're not where you want to be in life, but also you could realize that you're not really utilizing or showing up. You're not utilizing what's available to you or showing up in a way that actually gets you where you want to be. It's like you're not moving anywhere, and then you're upset that you're not going anywhere, but eventually you got to start moving type energy. Or that's how I'm feeling it. It's not to know, but to go. Yeah. So let's see what's over here. We got action, action, a. I love this is my new favorite card in the Energy Oracle cards because this has been such a big message lately. It's that we are taking the reins off of the horses. And so yesterday on the new channel, I put cards on top of the cards that were already down here. And when I was talking about the contracts over here, it's like these new spaces like 5D, New Earth, or whatever you want to call it, like we always, always, always have free will. So before we're granted more power, we have to prove ourselves more responsible, right? It's like because we have free will and because we don't have to do what we say that we're going to do with whatever it is that we're being given, right? It's like when people are making prayers like, oh, please, God, like if you give me this or if you give me that, then I'll change my ways forever. And then they get the opportunity and they go right back to being who they just were. Right. It's kind of sort of along those lines. But again, it just feels that like since we always have free will, it's like before we get this new thing, this shiny thing, we have to. It's like, before you can get a dog, here's a plant. And if you can water this plant every day, and if you can, like, set it by the sun in the morning and then take it back in your room at night, then you'll get a dog, right? You just gotta prove that you're not gonna, I don't know, completely mess things up. Not mess things up, but you know what I mean. Maybe you don't know what I mean. It's fine. I'm loving this action card. I'm loving this action card. Next is storm warning. Girl, are they running towards the storm or away from the storm? Let's see, because there's a. So action is number 17. Storm warning is number 10. 17 and 10 is the star in the Wheel of Fortune. But storm warning to me, it feels very Wizard of Oz, right? It feels very like it's not necessarily. I don't want to say it's not destructive. It doesn't have to be destructive in a destructive way. It can be destructive in a constructive way, right? Storm warning is about kind of sort of. Um, oh, hold up. Y'all can't even see these. Let's pull these down a little bit. Just a little bit. There we go. Even though I'm literally about to flip this card. Um, it's like a tower, right? And there are good towers and there are bad towers. There are towers that we take well and that we do something constructive with the energy of, and then towers that we don't. Things that, need to just sort of fall. So with the storm warning, I just feel like things are on the precipice of change. That's why I'm loving the candle, the skull, and the open book, right? Illumination, transformation, and the closing out of one chapter and the opening of another one. But again, this is one that we're writing, and we don't write this with pen and paper. We don't write this in intentions. We write this with action. These are pinnacles. He's working on a pinnacle. These are actual physical experiences. These are tangible. So it's more than just thoughts. Right? And the Eight of Swords did come out right after. No, what was it? It was the Eight of Pentacles, Death, and then the Eight of Swords. So the Eight of Swords was around here, but we're talking about the Pentacles. It ain't just. It's more than just thoughts. This is very actions speak louder than thoughts type of energy. And then we're ending with contract, number 6. And here's contract. Contract to me, it speaks of fulfillment. I mean, here's literally, and I believe Storm Warning came out as well too, but here's literally the two cards that have been the central theme and focus for the past few days. We're fulfilling the whatchamacallits, the stipulations, the requirements of this contract to be released to us what we need. And I love the scales in this because I feel like the scales in this contract card, it speaks to the balance that we need to have within ourselves, right? Because again, these horses are not tied to each other. They're not reined together. There's no charioteer driving these horses. These horses are driving themselves in the direction that they want to go. Maybe that's why, Spirit has been like, okay, here's the keys. Where are you going to go? Where are you going to go? What are you going to do? Where are you going to go? What are you going to do? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, it is really important for us, at least from my perspective, it's really important for us to be able to navigate without Spirit, like, course correcting every single thing. Because it's like right now, a lot of times when we as people depend on Spirit, we're depending on Spirit, or we're relying on Spirit, we're getting our act together to get something from Spirit. But it's like, if everything is good, if you have no worries, if you have no problems, like, are you still going to Spirit? Are you still worried about acting in alignment? Or are you just out there living your life, having a good time, giving like no F's, no cares, no worries, nothing? And it's like, Spirit is like, why you always got to be pushed in a space of surrender to come talk to me? Like, I'm always here, like, literally. Like, you can talk to me and your life not be falling apart. That's how I feel about some of the people in my life. Like, I'm still here, even when your life isn't falling apart. And you've got no one else to help you put the pieces back together. Like, I am still here. And I'm coming into this space where I ain't got time for people who only come to me when their lives are falling apart. I don't want to say that. The people who only come to me when their lives are falling apart will have a certain space in my life, in my world, and they're not going to get all of my time and energy and effort, because I don't believe it's not for me to be helpful to people. I think it still is. To be, kind and compassionate and listening, and especially when folks don't have a lot of other people that they can go to. Like, sure, but like, it's just for me to understand what it is, right? It's for me to have that knowing and that understanding. Okay, you're not going to be a more permanent fixture in my life. Okay, that's cool. Let me give you not permanent fixture type of energy. But anyway, I feel like it's that's why it's so important for us, or another reason why it's so important for us to really get that alignment down within ourselves, right? Because it's like if you get the person that you're going after, if you get that abundance, are you ever going to go back to Spirit? Are you ever going to be concerned? It's like, probably not. Probably not. Honestly, probably not. If the only times we go to Spirit is because we want something, and if we have all of our desires fulfilled, then what's the purpose of Spirit, right? I don't know. Spirit still has a purpose in my book, but also I'm aligning myself that way, and that's about, and like, what a time to be going in with like nothing, with nothing from Spirit. Spirit's just like, figure it out. 2020, right? But it's like, if we can navigate this time, when is it going to be any more difficult than this? Than this space of transition? I don't know. Now we're getting the Three of Pentacles, exactly. That's the space of partnership. It's like a working relationship. It's different. But we're gonna get these final messages. I'm gonna go to sleep. Back to sleep. Oh, I have been getting some like good sleep. I'll sleep for a few hours. I'll wake up for a few hours, and then I'll go back to sleep. And my second sleep has been so good. I love that action with the sun at the bottom. Shout out to the Energy Oracle cards. Final message from the Witch's Tarot. Let's see. Before I put y'all's away, was that Justice? I think it was. Almost. Almost. So yeah, and that's, everything is context, you know? And I feel like context It's not cheating, but it almost is a little bit because context. Oh goodness! Up, Nine of Wands came out, so we got to look at the Four of Wands and the Knight of Pentacles. Oh goodness, this is a lot of cards though. But the Nine of Wands. So we have the Nine of Wands, the Eight of Pentacles, and the Ten of Swords. And this, to me, it's reiterating that we can't be so ready to go into our next cycle that we're not even completing this one. Because if we go into the next one with things left unresolved, we're going to be bringing old energy into this new space. Then we have the King of Wands, the Ace of Cups, the Knight of Cups, Death, and the Four of Swords. So this, to me, is speaking about the transformation of desire. Because we're realizing that if we want to get the thing that we currently have our eyes set on, we're going to have to navigate and operate in a different way. And it feels like there are things in our lives that we've known that we need to change and transform, but that we haven't. And we don't have to, but we're realizing that if we want to go where we're going, we're going to have to. Right? We're not just sitting in our throne looking at the things that we want and rejecting everything else and not having any, I want to say, moral framework about how we go about getting them. It's about opening the heart, moving forward with the heart in this transformative way that actually gets us closer to where we want to be. Because it's like, as long as those things remain unaddressed, we don't actually get any closer. King of Swords, Six of Cups, the Ten of Cups, the Five of Swords, the Five of Cups. So we saw the Six of Cups earlier today. I feel like this is an energy of us needing to take responsibility for situations in the past. And I feel like this is the space of us looking on situations in the past like, wow, that really could have worked out, but not necessarily looking at the reasons why it didn't and not addressing the reasons why it didn't work out. And again, up here, it's like if we don't actually address the reasons why this failed the first time, it's going to fail again. And then we have the Three of Wands, which was the only card face down, which is the card of manifestation. It's feeling like elevation. Like the way that it's time for us to do a lot more than what we were doing in the past, honestly. That's how I'm feeling it. It's time for us to do more than what we were doing in the past. And it's like, I think we're kind of sort of, and then there's the Nine of Pentacles and this bare minimum type energy, right? Almost. Maybe not necessarily. And then there's the King of Pentacles. So the only king we didn't see was the King of Cups. And he was on the table earlier today with the Page of Cups and the Knight of Cups. That was a lot. Can I get like a few cards, please? I don't know, it's like, how many times can we reiterate the same message? It evolves slowly over time. We get some more pieces here and there as we go. Final message, please. Thank you! The card at the bottom of the deck is the Three of Swords. Bum, bum, bum. And the Ten of Swords. Bum, 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 bum. At the top of the deck is the Ace of Pentacles, though. So the Three of Swords and the Ten of Swords, this to me, it's talking about, like I said, first we were looking on the past in the Six of Cups, Ten of Cups way, overly romanticizing, overly fantasizing about this one thing in the past that we think was our ticket to Ten of Cups happiness and emotional fulfillment. But again, it failed in the past for a reason. If we're not addressing the reason, it's going to fail again. This is doing all that work that we need to do. And it's like when we go It's like we're being pushed into this Nine of Swords state, so we can be aware of the things, we can be aware of the reasons why things failed in the past, right? The Nine of Swords is only the Nine of Swords because we're seeing the things that we weren't seeing at the Eight of Swords. And it's this energy of like, I'd rather be blind. I'd rather not know. But we're being called into these Ten of Swords spaces where we actually take care of and handle everything. And as we're doing that, it resolves a lot of this instead of just leaving it sort of festering. And it's like we get to this Nine of Swords state, we taste a little bit of that 10th sword. We're like, ooh, right? It's like getting a shot where it hurts before they even stick the needle in your arm. And you're like, ow. They're like, we haven't even done anything yet. Like, girl, I'm all the way on the other side of the room. If this ain't psychosomatic, I don't know what is. Because I ain't nowhere near you right now. But then, like, we run to the Six of Cups space. And then we go, like, we project ourselves into that Ten of Cups. But you ain't going to reach the Ten of Cups without the Ten of Swords. You're just not. You can't reach the Ten of Cups with this energy. Because carrying this around, it prevents you from giving fully to situations. It prevents you from being fully present because now it's like you're on the defensive in ways that don't even serve you anymore. But again, it's your life. Do what you want to do. You ain't got a Ten of Swords, nothing. You can run away from the Ten of Swords all your life if you want to. You ain't got to do diddly squat. One of my teachers in high school used to tell me, Patrick, the only two things you got to do are pay taxes and die. Because I would always be like, is this mandatory? Is this mandatory? Is this homework mandatory? She was like, Patrick, all you got to do is pay taxes and die. Everything else in life is a choice. You ain't got to get that Ten of Cups. You ain't got to get that Sun card. You ain't got to get your happiness. But if you want any of that, is that the door to romance? Oh, snap, it is. With attachment. Ooh, I feel like that's being attached. We're so attached to the idea of romance that it blinds us from seeing the things again that we need to see in order to make a romance actually happen. It's like a lot of people want that power couple, that fairy tale, that lovey-dovey relationship. But a lot of people aren't as willing to do the work on themselves to put themselves in a position where that's something that they're capable of receiving, where it's an experience that they're capable of living. Bottom of the deck is that attachment. I think there was a card that flipped over. Was that the World? I think that's the World at the top of the deck. Yep, the World is at the top of the deck. Attachment is at the bottom of the deck. And the card that came out is Contracts. Until we fulfill the obligations of this contract, that relationship, that abundance, it will forever be out of your reach. This contract is trying to liberate you from these attachments that you have to things that actually, like the Three of Swords, they do a lot more detriment to you than they do benefit. A lot of times we hang on to Three of Swords experiences to keep ourselves from repeating that mistake again. And it's like, or you could just grow, evolve, change, love yourself more. Love yourself to the point where you're not going to, A, manifest this again, but B, allow yourself to be in the situation for as long as you were in again. So you don't have to hang on to the heavy stuff. You don't have to hang on to the negativity. You can just integrate the lesson, lighten that up, drop off the bag, and move on. Right? You can consolidate 15 different, cargo freight train size pieces of luggage into a travel bag and be good. Like, all of the rest is unnecessary. All of the rest, it's tying you down and keeping you from getting where it is that you want to go. It reminds me of the Pisces reading that I did months ago. I don't remember when. But it's when Pisces had the Seven of Wands and the Wheel of Fortune, and it's like you've worked to put yourself in a place of advantage. You've gained the high ground, and this Wheel of Fortune is like this hot air balloon that's coming in, trying to take you into your next space. But if you're too heavy, it's gonna drop you because you can't sink the hot air balloon. Hello, if you're too heavy, you'll fall off. So it's like you already worked this hard to get to this space. Let go of the extra baggage. And if you don't, if you stay attached, you're going to be stuck in this contract. I'm really feeling contracts as the space of the things that we have to learn before we get granted permission into these new spaces that we're all manifesting. Because again, in this new space, you still have free will. You still have free choice. You can continue to sabotage it in all of the ways that you're sabotaging it now. But some of these spaces, that's like it's a no-fly. If you want to get in this Ace of Pentacles new world, you got to fulfill the contract. And again, like, I don't know, maybe it is my own personal experience. In my own personal experience, I don't feel bound. I don't want to say tied. Like, I do feel tied, some ties, but I don't feel bound. I don't feel contracted to anything. And honestly, I don't really work off of contracts. It's like I work best in spaces that I want to be in. If I don't want to be here, it doesn't matter what the contract is, it's not going to work. And I'm not going to stick around for something that I don't want to be in. Right? So, I don't know. But again, that's just how I'm feeling it. So, in my mind, it's like the contract is all of the karmic lessons that you have to learn, all of the healing that has to be done, and all of the growth that needs to occur before you come into this space. It's like, okay, you want this Maserati on your 16th birthday. Well, here are some of the things that you're going to have to do to get that Maserati. Or your 18th birthday, right? Because maybe we'll give you a different car on your 16th. And if you take care of that one in those 2 years, well, over here in America, we get our license. You can get your license at 16, right? So it's like, if you want that Maserati, if you want the car that you really want, here's another car from 16 to 18. And depending on how you take care of that car, that will determine whether or not you get this Maserati. And if you don't fulfill those requirements, if you don't take care of that car, you don't get the Maserati. Because why would we give you a Maserati if you couldn't even take care of the other car that you got? Like, we love you, but man, come on, that's just irresponsible. We're not in the business of irresponsibleness. So that's what I personally feel like the contracts are about. Completing this lesson, that lesson, that. And it's not even about lessons, it's about growth. Once you've matured to this point, the contract is fulfilled and we turn over this thing that was left for you, right? Like if you're written into someone's inheritance and they're like, okay, well, this person doesn't get access to their money until they reduce their debt by this much, and they sustain that for this period of time, because I'm not turning my money over to somebody for them to be, hundreds of thousands of dollars more in debt than when they started. Because that's just a bad investment. But anyway, that's what I got. Thanks for coming in, Clarinda. It was fun. I'm going to go to the restroom and then I'm going to go to sleep. I hope y'all have a good whatever whenever you see this. And again, in my own personal experience, the way that I'm handling things moving forward, because we're moving forward, it's about reframing and reshifting the narrative. If anything comes up, it's a little boop, boop, boop. For me, it's on my radar. It's like, okay, all right, so this is something that we're going to change, and we're going to change it more intentionally, and consciously. We're going to be more aware about this thing, and I'm going to make sure that I'm doing things that shift my experience from that state into the desired state. Ain't necessarily got to be depressed and all this other kind of stuff. It's just about how we move forward. I'm reframing and reshifting my narrative. Y'all's doing whatever y'all's doing. Thank you, Clarinda. It was fun. No worries, no problems. All the best. Mercury just went retrograde a few hours ago, but we'll make it. check and see where you have Scorpio and Libra in your chart. It's going to go from like 13 degrees Libra to like 26 degrees, or 13 degrees Scorpio back to 26, I think, degrees Libra. Or like 25. It was about 25, 26 degrees Libra. That's where Scorpio is going to retrograde. So, catch y'all later. Bye.